Hello, everyone. Today is March 13th, 2026. I hope everyone's doing well. It's Friday afternoon, and it is 4:43 p.m. here in Albuquerque. That means it's about a quarter till 7 on the East Coast. Hope you're all doing well. Hope you're all doing well. It's a beautiful day in Albuquerque, and I was feeling pretty mellow, and I got some much needed rest and sleep, and I thought I'd come on, talk a little. Uh, let's see. Let's look at the sunrise real quick. Today the sun rose at 7:19 a.m. and it'll set at 7:12 p.m. It's like 2.5 hours from now. And tomorrow it'll rise at 7:18. And man, it's 74 degrees in Albuquerque. Clear day, just a few clouds. Um, it's nice. It's nice out. We're getting like an early spring this year. And it is already March, you guys. It's already March 13th, 2026. St. Patrick's Day is Tuesday. Wear green or you might get pinched. See what's going on over here. Call for Zero is here. Welcome. Good to see you, Call. Yeah. Yeah, seriously, man. Las Vegas, Nevada was 85 yesterday and today. Let's see. Well, I've been thinking about the big question, right? Why are we here? What is this place? Those are two questions. Um, it seems like this place is getting worse. It's a half heaven, half hell realm, half ish. I don't know. Um, it does seem like there's different timelines, different parallel universes happening at the same time. Um, the phenomenon known as the Mandela effect points to this. Because one thing I've noticed about Mandela changes, and we're going to get right into it now, people talking conspiracy theory and kind of far out talk, but I've noticed that when movie lines and song lines change due to the phenomenon known as the Mandela effect, they're always they always change for the worse. There's never been an improvement made by a Mandela. It's always for the worse. Um, and I just remembered something. Excuse me, I'll be right back. I'm sorry, people. Informal show today. It's a Friday afternoon. I'll be right back. Thank you. Let's see. I wonder if people will trickle in today. I usually don't do shows on Friday afternoon, but we'll see. We'll see what's happening. Okay, let me get back to what I was saying. Okay, the phenomenon known as the Mandela effect could be explained by different things. Some people say it's CERN, some people say it's time travel, some kind of time travel mishap, like in the movie Back to the Future. Dr. E is here. Good to see you, man. Um, Another idea, people, is the parallel universes idea, the parallel Earths idea, that there's different timelines, different parallel Earths happening at the same time. And perhaps what's happening is somehow we shift from timeline to timeline, from parallel Earth to parallel Earth, or parallel universe to parallel universe. It's interesting because it really does seem like this is a different place than the place that I grew up in. I was born in 70. So, yeah, the 70s and 80s and even the 90s and early aughts was different back then. And it seems to me that we're shifting from world to world, and it's getting worse. Like each shift, we're getting into a place that's worse than the place before. That's what it seems like. And again, I say, I've never seen a Mandela effect that was a change for the better. Every single time, it's a change for the worse. The say goodnight, Gracie, was perfect. Good night, Gracie. It was perfect. And now it's far from perfect. Super Sidewinders here. What's happening? So I don't normally like to talk about this because it's negative, and I always feel bad afterwards that I painted the world in a negative light when in fact, there's so much beauty in this world. And that's the truth. There really is. Push is here. Good to see you pushing buttons. Thought I'd come on this afternoon, do a show. I thought now would be a good time. I was feeling it. Um, People's behaviors have gotten crazy, super crazy. And we've all been crazy. I'm not going to say that I've never done crazy things. The human race has gone berserko. The behavior of people is different. It's worse. There's no respect for elderly people anymore. Just in time for me to become elderly. That's great. That's just behavior. But look at the culture. Look at what the human race is producing. We haven't produced anything of merit in a long time. So it does feel, and even people's faces are different now than they used to be. People's faces used to be more soulful, for real. People's faces used to be more soulful looking. Their eyes looked soulful, even almost sad, but in a good way. I mean, like humble, you know? I'm glad in a way, I'm glad my grandparents have passed away and my father has passed away, and they don't have to see all this craziness. My father passed in 2018, right before all that crazy COVID stuff. And I'm glad he didn't have to endure all that. Any rain anywhere, people? All right. Cool, man. Cool. Call for zeros at the gym on the exercise bike. I was going to tell Call to go faster. Thank you. All right. What else? What? Oh man. Oh man. You guys, I have to tell you about this. Okay, I live right next to the airport, the international airport here in Albuquerque, and I live to the northeast of it, and it's right there. It's right there, and like a block and a half. I'm a block and a half from the street called. Well, I'm not going to tell you the name, but you cross that street, and it's the airstrip. So I'm like right here, and I'm northeast of the airport. You guys, I haven't seen any airplanes coming in from that direction. Remember, I used to film airplanes all the time, and I put out those planes coming in videos. They were all coming in from the northeast, and it was heavy traffic every day. And now, literally zero airplanes fly overhead my backyard anymore. The only planes that do are very small ones, Cessnas. Now I looked it up, and I asked AI or Google why airplanes aren't coming into Albuquerque from the northeast anymore, and it said things that would indicate that there is still traffic there. It's just not as much as before because there's been layoffs and there's been bad weather. They were just giving these normal excuses, but I'm telling you guys, sometimes I wonder if it's true what people suggest about what we see in the skies. Are we seeing things that are on another dimension when we look at the skies? For real, that's a super far out thought. Rebecca's here. Hi, R. Super Sidewinder's got rain. Run and hide their hands. Might as well be. It's a little breezy outside. It's like a Las Vegas, New Mexico day. Vegas, New Mexico has windy springs. So does Albuquerque. One more quarter is here. Welcome. Happy Friday, everybody. It's Friday. Kind of feels like a Sunday. I forgot about Space Force. Becca, we're not a Space Force here. We're just a research adventure team. a ragtag crew of misfits. The, yeah, I agree with that. Sidewinder says many things we see are supernatural. You guys, it is a trip what a supernatural world we live in. And it becomes so clear. Once you see it, you can't unsee it. And even more than that, you just see it more and more all the time. Oh, wow, it's Friday the 13th. I didn't realize. What happens on Friday the 13th? Spooky stuff? Bad luck, right? Bloody. Hmm. Yeah, I saw one disappear too. Saddle Bum is here. Good to see you, Saddle. You got wind up there, man? Sunlight and wind? That's my guess. That's what's going on over here. Um, yeah, I saw some orbs without spending much time looking at the sky last week and the week before. And another thing I've noticed is have you guys noticed small airplanes going like, or even sometimes large airplanes going super slow, like so slow across the sky, flying across the sky so slowly? All right. So, yeah, as I was saying, I am leaning towards thinking that that's what the Mandela effect is. It's an indication that we are shifting as individuals. We're shifting from one earth to another, one physical plane to another. And as I see it, we keep going into worse places. Not to cast blame on that phenomenon, but I guess ultimately the blame lays on us, on the individual. But yeah, I think that it was past sins that have brought us to where we are now. For all I know, it was my individual sins that I have committed in my life that made me be surrounded by a world that isn't so great. And yet I feel better than I've ever felt. I feel closer to God than I've ever felt, than I've ever been. Um, it's ironic. You want to help people, but in the end, the real goal is salvation, personal salvation. See what's happening in the chat. That's true, Arm. It is what we're looking for. Attitude. Yeah, I've had good luck today also. Yeah, I think the veils are thinning big time. It's a trip out, you guys. It's a trip out what happens in the book of Revelation. It's a total trip out how it matches so fucking perfectly with what's going on today. How so many so many things that are going on today match up with what is described in the Bible. Why do you think the Bible is allowed to be accessed by so many people, you guys? That's not a rhetorical question. I've been meaning to ask Rebecca this and everybody, not just R. And no one has to answer this question at all. But I've been wondering, what do you guys think? Why is it that the number one most popular book of all time is not shill business? Why do you think that is? How could something like that happen in a world where it looks like the devil is in control of the material world? How could the world's most number one most popular thing, the Bible, how could that super popular thing not be a shill thing? And I don't think it's a shill thing, but I'm just wondering, how did it slip through the cracks? What do you think happened, people? Why are we allowed to have access to it when we live in such an evil material world? I don't know if there's a correlation there, or, um, but that's an interesting thought. So as we level up, she says, so as we level up, each earth gets more ridiculous? Question mark. Goddamn good question. Pardon my use of that word. Sidewinder, thank you for the answer. Truth, comma, he says, it is because it's a perfect balance of good, bad. And I think what you mean is the Bible speaks truth. And that's because this world is this material world is a perfect balance of good and bad. And so there's good stuff. I believe that's what you're saying. Um, One More Quarter says religion equals division, and we're going to get back to that in a little bit. That's interesting, Bush. Can you expand on that? It feels like a playback as of late, he says. Interesting. Yeah, I think I actually get that. Like we're just watching. The right crowd. That reminds me of my band in high school, The Wrong Crowd. I've never told you guys about The Wrong Crowd. That was my first band ever. And one day, I'll even put those recordings on YouTube. July 1988. And I always thought when I release those, I'm going to title it, Where Were You in 88? I know what you weren't doing. You weren't listening to a band called The Wrong Crowd. Oh, playbook. He meant playbook, not playback. Well, either or. And then let's see. Super Sidewinder says, most folks don't want the real truth. Tell me about it. I remember back when I was researching 9/11, when I first got into that around 2005, 2006. I remember telling a musician friend of mine about all this stuff that I had discovered. And he said, you know, if the world is this way that you describe, if there's some kind of evil undercurrent controlling things and deceiving people, I don't even want to know. I don't want to know about that. Which blew my mind. I couldn't believe that that would be his take, but I understand it. I understand it. People are scaredy cats. I understand it. To me, I could never be that way. I could never just shut it off, look the other way, and just continue living this life that I would know has to be a situation where if you're trying to just live your life with the establishment, with this system, within the system, that's an inauthentic life. I want to be with God. Elaine is here. Good to see you, man. Yeah, I have read the Gospel of Thomas. You lose that bet, dude. You owe me. How dare you? You know, it's a trip out. R. It really is a trip out. Maybe we were awful people in a past life. I mean, that's always been my feeling that we're here right now because of past transgressions. Now it's time for the action part of the show. Whammo. This is a bicycle thief. A casual bicycle thief. He's pretty casual about this. Uh-oh. Here comes the bicycle's true owner. Wham! Kamikaze charge. Um, But Elaine, I've never heard of that non-dual nature teaching by Jesus. All right. My first instinct has always been to think that we're here because, like I said, we've sinned. Or I should just speak for myself. I've always thought, I'm here because I sinned in either in this life, because I've done a lot of sinning in this life, or in some past life, some past incarnation that I can't remember. And it does feel that way. And it feels like this place is like not just a punishment, but a place where you can learn humility and authenticity. And it's like a humility and honesty test, this life. It's like a humility, honesty test. That's what this life is, I think. Wow. All right, I told you I was watching Blues Brothers. There's a scene in the Blues Brothers, if you'll recall, that where a car falls out of the sky. Yeah, it's also a forgiveness test. We have to forgive ourselves and others. Absolutely. Absolutely. This is why I can relate with Christ. I like his deal about loving everybody, even people that it's hard not to hate. Because it feels better when you're at rest. It doesn't feel right to hate people. Even if they've wronged you, it just doesn't feel right. It's off. The devil doesn't want us to know it's off. Elaine says, if you self-realized, the rebirth cycle would stop, according to Aveda Vedanta. Yeah. Yeah. Hey, what's all this? I'm sorry about the commercials, you guys. Jeez. Hey, Leo the bear. Leo the bear passed away. And I just discovered him a few weeks ago. This channel is the Orphaned Wildlife Center. The Orphaned Wildlife Center. And this bear is Leo. I sent them a message saying Leo the bear is cool. Then he died a week later. He likes those marshmallows. I bet he'd love roasted marshmallows, man. If only he knew. Blue Pac-Man is here. Good to see you, John. Never seen the Blues Brothers. John Africa, good to see you, man. This is one of those days where I had a feeling it'd be a good time to come on. I had a feeling I'd see some folks, and I was right. Yeah, it's a vivid feeling, isn't it, Push? Push says, I know that I and many others have experienced regaining consciousness after a coma or whatever. Many feel a longing to go back wherever they/we were, in quotes, in our unconscious states. Yeah. Yeah. There's a vivid feeling of wanting to go back home. And Blue Pac-Man talks about that too. Now, I want you guys to take a look at the screen right now. This looks like a damn black and white photograph. It's 6:12 p.m. and it's twilight time. This was on the 5th of March. You guys, this is not an overcast sky. This is a blue sky with no clouds at all at twilight time, dusk. Now, in past times, twilight time, dusk in March in Albuquerque was super blue. Like if there was no clouds in the sky, it would get super blue. But look at this, you guys. It looks like a black and white photograph. The sky is white and gray, and there's no clouds at all. So tell me if you guys notice this where you live. Right now, the camera is panning up, all the way straight up, and there's still not much blue at all. Let's go back and see that. The sky used to be much bluer, and on this particular evening, it was very strangely gray, white. And then I took this yesterday on the 12th at 4:04 p.m. The sun's up, there's trails. And look at this, you guys. You notice that shadow right there? Right there where the cursor is. I hope you can see my cursor. But it's just to the right of the trail that's going from the top of the screen to the bottom, in the middle there, closest to the lens flare. You see that thick trail that's, well, bright trail. It's the brightest trail right next to the lens flare, between the lens flare and the sun. That's the trail. And there's a shadow, and it almost seems like the shadow is higher than the trail, which is higher than the sun. But I don't think that's the case. I think the sun is highest, and then the trail is second highest, and the shadow's right there. I think this is very mysterious. And if you look closely, there's even a second shadow closer to the trail. But do you see that first one right there? Right there. It's strange. It kind of looks like the sun is closer to us than the trail and the shadow. Awesome, Blue. That's cool. All my bags are packed. I'm ready to go. Outside the door. I'm leaving on a jet plane. Don't know when I'll come back again. Okay, you guys, this is Salt from Salt and Pepper. Remember? Listen to what she says about the world we're living in.
Hey y'all, so the cat's out the bag. I've been studying this type of thing for years, but you can't really talk about it because
The cat's out of the bag, she says. I've been talking about this stuff for years, but you can't really talk about it because people will think that you're crazy.
people will think that. Hey y'all, so the cat's out the bag. I've been studying this type of thing for years, but you can't really talk about it because people will think that you're crazy. So now we know Satanists and Luciferians run the world. 2 Corinthians, it describes that Satan is the god of this world. They own the government, politics, Democrats and Republicans, the court system, the education system, the banks, the Federal Reserve, real estate, farms, Hollywood, what we watch, music, what we listen to, media, what we believe, sports, big pharma, everything. We pay their taxes, we work their jobs, we buy their houses. We don't own anything really, because even if we paid for a house outright, if we miss paying taxes one time, they can take the home. We've been pitted against each other like crazy forever. Black versus white, rich versus poor, men versus women, Democrats versus Republicans, Muslims against Christians. We fight over narratives that they've created to keep us divided while they're doing whatever they want. Hunting, killing, sexually assaulting, sacrificing, torturing, cannibalizing, yes, cannibalizing, and organ harvesting our children, grooming them and over sexualizing them, teaching them inappropriate things in school. They start wars and they tell us it's this country or that country, or it's this religion who's our enemy. And our kids go to war to defend lies. They fund both sides of the war and make billions of dollars while our family members are sacrificed. We have been bamboozled beyond our wildest dreams. Everything we've been fed is a lie. So what do we do? If you're like me, it's like, okay, we got the information, but what
The Smashing Pumpkins frontman Billy participating in some sort of an influence of his pay grade, but he couldn't dismiss it.
798. Suddenly they decided it was the wizard.
Have been involved in the cultural shift. He said that was
Okay, this is Billy Corgan's remarks about the music industry. And you guys may have seen this. This got kind of viral.
above his pay grade, but he couldn't dismiss it because he watched it happen in real time. Here's a little bit of what he said.
Who was the wizard behind the crew? All I know is I saw the gravity shift. Okay. If you were at MTV or around MTV, 1997, 98, suddenly they decided rock was out.
Right.
When rock was still
Right.
very, very high up in the thing. And it was replaced by rap.
Right.
They immediately changed the way their standards and practices immediately shifted.
Right.
So now that things that weren't allowed were suddenly allowed, people were waving guns. Okay. So some people assert that the CIA was involved in all that, again, above my pay grade, but I saw it happen. I did witness it happen. Okay.
Right.
And of course, great music came out of it. So it's not like it's not a barren wasteland where something was pushed in that replaced something. Qualitative things and great artists came in, but there was this overt shift. I saw it happen.
Right.
And then now, as you pointed out, rap seems to be waning in terms of its cultural influence.
Right.
Pop is completely dominant. Rock is probably the most dominant ticket selling thing in the Western world, and yet there's almost no representation of rock in culture.
Right.
So why do we have that schism? I think they purposely dialed down the ability of rock stars to have a voice in the culture.
Now, for all of the criticism that he's faced for
Yep. That's what happened, people. And he's being very generous when he says that it was replaced by qualitative things that were not barren wasteland stuff. But yes, it was. Yes, it was. That's an incredible thing that he's talking about there. The discrepancy between real life, which is tickets selling like crazy for rock acts, especially the classic ones, And yet you wouldn't know that. From the screen, from what the screen tells us, you wouldn't know that people still love rock and roll and that they pay money to go to the shows to see a guitar band. Let's see what's happening in the chat. And I filmed the moonrise recently because it's rising so fast. And shout out to Rebecca. She's here for pointing that out to me. You can see there, if you look closely, the what we call telephone wires. And you can also see the trees and the branches. You can measure the moon, its speed, kind of by just looking at what's around it there. And yeah, it rises so fast nowadays. It's been a while, Push. Yeah, age 20 in the war. I can't even believe it. I was thinking about that old song about how. Remember that song from the mid 80s? I think it was called 19, where it talked about the average age of the American fighting soldier in Vietnam was 19. In Vietnam, it was 19. I wish I was in Tijuana eating barbecued iguana. I take requests on the telephone. I'm on a wavelength far from home. I'm on a Mexican radio. Yeah, Denver Airport is pretty creepy place. Wall of Voodoo, cool band. Yeah, that's a good point, Or. That could be what's going on. They want us to let our guard down and go back to watching conventional news. Maybe. And just because we're paranoid doesn't mean they're not watching us. No, it's going double speed. Physical media is making a comeback, which is cool. I could see why too. Even earlier this afternoon, I was looking at my tablet for about 3 minutes, and then I said, no. Nice. All right, R. Do what you got to do. Earlier I was mentioning how it does feel like I sinned, and that's why I'm here in this strange world. But it also could be that we were like kidnapped, spiritually kidnapped, abducted. Um, I'm not very comfortable putting that theory forward because I don't want to shed responsibility for any kind of past sinning that I have done. Like, I don't want to do that. I want to own up and move forward, as opposed to blaming something else or someone else. Yeah. But you never know. It could be a weird situation where we were abducted, and again, maybe God doesn't even know we're here. I don't know. I've told you guys before, maybe God's in trouble, needs our help. Maybe he's wasted. He's all fucked up. All kinds of drugs and liquor. You never know. Kind of a funhouse mirror. Blue Pac-Man says, they say the dream world is a mirror copy of the waking world. So yeah, it's the strangest thing that I don't see airplanes coming into Albuquerque anymore from the Northeast. I don't know. Another thing I've been thinking about is why is the devil the way he is? Is there some kind of secret origin story? Why is the devil the way he is? And you know the way he is. He's like every narc and psycho you have ever known, right? He's no talent. He can't create. He has a talent for lying and manipulating, and he's got a knack for destruction. He's talented in those areas. You know what, you guys? I've been thinking about it. Josh is here. Welcome. And I think that there's a strong chance that it has to do with the music. It has something to do with the music. Maybe he was betrayed by someone. Who was in his band, or someone who purported to be helping him, and they ended up sabotaging everything. Or what if it was this? What if he was a no talent poser and he was telling everybody, I know people like this. I know people like this who front and tell people things like they're a songwriter or they're a filmmaker or they're a poet. I know poets who've never written a poem, not even a haiku. I know filmmakers who've never made a film, not even a 3-minute film. I know singer-songwriters who can't sing shit and have never written a complete song. I know record producers who have never produced a record. I know videographers and photographers who don't really take photographs of anything. There's posers all over this world. Maybe there was a situation where the devil was telling everyone, yeah, I wrote this song and made this album and blah, blah, blah. This is me. This is my work. But in fact, it was someone else's work. And let's say like God was going to say like, okay, we're going to find out tomorrow. I don't want to be bothered with this shit tonight. Tomorrow, we're going to find out who really wrote this stuff. So what does the devil do that night? He can't face the music. See what I did there? He can't face the music. So what does he do? He bails. He leaves. Just like on the Ricky Lake show, when things get too hot, the guy just turns and leaves, walks off the stage. And Ricky just looks at him with her jaw to the ground. Maybe that's what happened. Maybe that's what that's why the devil got all these people to rebel with him and they ended up getting cast out, or maybe he ran off here. Push says, I know a DJ who's never made one mix. Thank you. Oh, yeah. 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 I met a girl in Phoenix back in the 80s, like 1985. And she was a friend of my cousin's. And back then that Miami sound machine type of sound was real popular. You know, Miami Vice was popular and the whole Miami music scene was happening. And this girl claimed that she was in a band called Lisa and the Cult Jam. Do you remember them, Push? Anybody? Lisa and the Cult Jam. Back in the days of Salt and Pepper. I stopped giving wrenches a long time ago. No more wrench business. No more monkey business. Too much monk. Yeah, so Leo the bear died, which is not so fun, but we have the videos. So funny. We live in such a funny world. You know, it's so warm in Albuquerque this week that it's like 3 or 4 days are predicted to be record-breaking days, you know, hotter than it's ever been on that day. And we live in a world where we can't enjoy that. You know, we're coming out of summer. I want it to be warmer. But you can't tell people that, or else they'll say, no, you're supposed to feel guilty because of global warming. You don't enjoy this. To which I say, screw that. And then there's the idea that we're all fallen, that we're all fallen. Yeah, this girl in Phoenix told me she was in Lisa and the Cult Jam. Someone asked her, what do you do in that band? And she says, oh, most of the moaning and groaning that you hear on the records is me. In deep sleep, there is no dream, no pain. The sleep dream disappears when you wake up. The waking dream would also disappear when you would die or self-realized. Renewal of the mind is a death. Renewal of the mind is a death. When one drops thoughts and attachments mentally, and I've said it before, it leaves a vacancy inside of you that is immediately filled with the light of God. And that's where it's at. The dropping of ego and all thoughts, letting the light fill you up, and then being present with what's around you, and you can see right then and there that you're a child of God. And it feels right. It brings a smile to my face. You know, the last thing a religion will tell you is to look within. Certainly churches that I've been in, like Christian churches, Western churches, they're not going to tell you to look within. And other religions will tell you that it's okay to not love people who aren't part of the religion. To which I say, screw that. It's a trip. So many things going on. Let me see what else. A lot of people are reporting that they're losing interest in things that they used to have as hobbies, or even more than a hobby, but an artistic career, for example. Yeah. I think that it's natural for us to lose interest in things when we get closer to God. We get closer to the light. I think that's natural. Bush, you started this remark by saying, if that's the case, but now I forgot what the case you're referring to. Let me think for a sec. Well, all I say is that, well, the main thing I'm thinking there is Sherry's a friend of mine, and I'll pray for her. Okay, that's cool. Everything is cool. Let's see. That's about it, people. We're an hour in. I'm going to play some music and then hit the button. And you guys can leave some last messages in the chat, and I'll put them on the screen. And I appreciate you very much. I appreciate you guys being here. Thanks for hanging out. And I'll come at you real soon. Peace and love.